Thank you all so much for coming. My dad would have loved this gathering. He would have mingled and talked to each one of you. I know this because on Sundays we were usually one of the last to leave church. He would tell a riddle or a pun and then ask you a question and listen while you told your story. Then he would open up and tell one of his own stories. He loved people. And my dad taught me what a real man is, what an ideal person is. First, determination. My dad had the inner strength. My dad had the inner strength to move mountains. Because of his childhood illness, he often had to work harder than others. But I never saw him quit. He patiently chipped away at a task and never let someone tell him he couldn't. Through that determination, buildings, roads, barns, businesses were built. He never stopped looking for his next project. Some are still continuing, even now. Secondly, devotion. Every morning as a little boy, I would climb up the stairs and see my dad in his chair by the window reading the Bible. He would often share with me what he was reading, and I'd see the checklist for his checklist for reading the whole Bible through in a year, something he did many times. God knows my father's devotion, and his family, we know of my father's devotion to us. Nature walks every weekend, drawing lessons, and taking us with him on adventures to gold mines, cabins, or historic reenactments, were all the ways he loved to spend time with us. Finally, kindness. Many, many messages have been sent to us over the last 2 weeks. I have not been surprised by any of them, as they all tell of my father's kindness to people. My father saw potential in everyone and gave everyone a chance. He took God's commandments to love your neighbor seriously. He would give a struggling business a chance, buy food for hungry students in my class. And donate his time and money to the many causes that tugged at his heart. In conclusion, the unswerving loyalty my father had for me, his family, his community, and his faith have taught me so much. I will always strive to live up to his ideals, and I'm so proud to call William Foster him my father. While going through some of my father's papers, we came across some of his own words that we wanted to share with you today. He wrote this in 2009. He wrote, "I would like to tell you some of my relationships that I have. My siblings and I were in the house, and out of nowhere, someone suggested that we go and explore Grandpa's 1947 Buick. We lovingly referred to the car by the name the Green Bomb. It was a dream machine. This baby had individual front windows, with a hood that extended for a couple of miles, and a back seat that fit our whole family of 7, and Tippy, our dog. This baby had it all. In fact, it must have taken a few tons of steel to make and shape her. My grandfather would take me for drives in it, and on one occasion we went to check on the farm at Cherry Grove, where he had been a teacher and gave the area its name. There has never been another car like it since. So we walk out the back door and through the breezeway. We notice that the garage door was open, and we kids walk through it. The next thing I hear is one of my siblings taking the gas cap off to look in the tank to see how much gas is in there. My brother couldn't see in there very well, and while we all stuck our faces as close to the tank as possible to see, he had the brilliant idea of striking a match to drop in. The good news, the match went out, and we continued to wear our eyebrows. Maybe it's a good idea if I share family vacations. Our family was vacationing at 4 Lakes at my Grandpa Hidden's cabin, which was an annual event. The cabin was quite rustic. The plumbing was a single sink of cold water, no electricity, rough cut siding, and it did have windows we could open when it was hot out, but most of the time we spent the day in the lake. Sleeping was on the porch that was screened in with 3 large beds comprised of metal springs, all pushed together. We did have a wood stove and an outhouse across the driveway with one cold water pipe outside the cabin. While swimming with the family one day, I found myself starting to slowly sink when I slipped through the hole in the inner tube I was using. I was looking up and could see the underside of a large log that the dock is on, getting smaller. I could hear my mother yelling at my brother Oliver to dive in the water and bring me up. It was then and there Mom decided that swimming lessons were in order. Spending time at the cabin or going to family camp at Ocean Park each summer with clamming, cookouts, and runs on the beach. Life was not just fun. We did have our share of jobs to do. Washing the driveway clean and other parts of the house. We also had to take care of the garden and canning the produce at the cannery that was on the old highway up to Hazeldale. We put the food in the cellar for home use. Work at the brickyard was stacking or turning the brick so that they would dry and be ready to be put in the kiln for burning. But the chores were not more than other kids had. In 1953, I lost the ability to walk. Mom took me to lots of doctors and lots of prayer meetings. Since Mom was a teacher, I could keep up my schooling. After a few months of my mom taking me to therapy, it was her prayers that I believe gave me the ability to walk. Ever so slowly, my muscles came back. Years later with surgeries, my ankles were straightened. To this day, I've never received a definitive diagnosis. I owe my mom a debt of gratitude for her love and tenderness during that time of my life. In the 1960s, I remember boarding the train in Vancouver, and my thoughts were about the Monashee Mountain, where my mother's parents were part owners of the St. Paul gold mine. As a young child, I can remember my family vacationing there and helping out with the mining. I had fun going into the mine to dig for gold. Since Oliver was good with matches, he could help cut and load the dynamite. Grandpa would yell, "Fire in the hole!" and then hearing the explosion with smoke billowing out. When the smoke finally cleared, we were able to go in and help push the ore car up to dump. It was during these vacations at Monashee Mountain, Grandma taught me how to flip her famous sourdough pancakes. She was so proud that the sourdough came from the starter that Grandpa brought back from the gold rush in Alaska. Never were there any leftovers. The chipmunks would sit on Grandma's knee and beg for food. As my thoughts drift back to those vacations, I was in I was in Bellingham in no time. There was my grandma waiting at the station for me. She was so much fun. For instance, I could go for walks and to check out the bay, or we would play games such as cards, Chinese checkers, lots of checkers, and go for rides to places like Birch Bay, Ferndale, where we used to live, Larrabee Park, or Lummi Island, or Peace Arch Park. Grandma would tell me stories and jokes. This is one of her favorites. When Abraham was walking around the desert, he found a hole. Then further on, he found another one. And guess what? He found a third one. So what did Abraham say? Well. Mornings were wonderful. Grandma was busy in the kitchen flipping stacks of pancakes, just like on Monashee Mountain. I could only eat 4 or 5 pancakes at home, but at Grandma's, I could slam down 4 or 5 stacks. Life is about relationships. This lesson has been shown to me over and over again, not only in my childhood, but as an adult as well. God knew all along whom I would be by my side. Marcia and I will be celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary this year. And by the way, this year makes their 50th wedding anniversary. Marcia is my best friend, my business partner, and buddy. Together, we put our trust in him daily. While putting my thoughts onto paper for this little chat, it is my hope that you will be able to see our God is always present. He is looking out for us at every turn and giving us what we need. Thank you.